Which of the following is not a function of the placenta? When you talk about the placenta is the organ of contact between the mother and the fetus. Organ of contact. Also, we say that the placenta is the organ of exchange. It's the one that facilitates the exchange of the materials between the mother and the fetus. So the placenta usually has several functions that it plays in the uterus during the process of fetal development. One of the functions is that it allows the exchange of food and oxygen from the mother to the fetus. Two, it allows the exchange of carbon dioxide, which is a waste product from the fetus to the mother for removal. It also produces hormones required for maintenance of the pregnancy. Also, it prevents the blood of the mother and that of the fetus from mixing. So those are basically the main functions of the placenta. That is, being an organ of contact, it will prevent the blood of the mother and that of the fetus from mixing together, since the two might not be of the same blood group. Two, it produces hormones that are required in the maintenance of the pregnancy in the uterus, since the pregnancy has to be maintained in the uterus for the 9 months. So the hormones that are responsible for maintenance of that pregnancy in the uterus are produced by the placenta. Also, it allows the exchange of the materials like the waste products, e.g. carbon dioxide, from now the fetus to the mother, so that now they can be taken to the excretory organs for removal. Also, it allows the exchange of food and oxygen from the mother to the fetus, since the mother is the one who feeds. Also, the fetus need to feed, so it feeds from the food that is dissolved in the blood of the mother that it's allowed to pass through the placenta. So when we look at our choices there, A, we have allows the passage of dissolved food material to the embryo. That is correct according to our explanation there. B, allows the exchange of gases between the embryo and the mother. Gases here we have oxygen and also we have carbon dioxide, that are the gas that are exchanged between the two. Then prevent harmful materials from reaching the material. For example, here we are saying now it prevents the blood of the mother and that of the fetus. That one protect now any harmful materials from reaching the embryo from the mother. D, protects the embryo from the shock. This one, the placenta does not protect the embryo from the shock. What protects the embryo from the shock is the amniotic fluid that is produced that is found in the amnion. So our correct answer, the one which is not the function of the placenta, is D, that it protects the embryo from shock. Which one of the following is found first after fertilization? Fertilization, as we know, is the union of the male and the female reproductive cells. Fertilization occurs in the oviduct or in the fallopian tube. So when we look at the female reproductive system, which looks like that, we have the ovary there, then we have the oviduct or the fallopian tube, then we have the uterus. Fertilization usually occur when now the male reproductive cell, which is the sperm, and the female reproductive cell, which is the ovum, unites or fuses with the sperm, and this one takes place in the oviduct. So immediately after fertilization, the living organism that is formed is called zygote, which is formed in the oviduct or in the fallopian tube. So when you look at our question, the first, after fertilization, the zygote is the one that is formed first. So we come here, we have a fetus, embryo, zygote, sex cells. So the answer here, it will be zygote. Which one of the following is not a correct statement about reproduction in human beings? Reproduction is the giving rise to a new generation, where mammals give rise to young ones of their own kind. During the process of reproduction, there are several processes that takes place, and one of the process, it is fertilization. Fertilization is the union between the male sex cell and the female sex cell. The female sex cell, it is called ovum. When it unites with the male sex cell, which is called sperm, then we say fertilization has taken place. That fertilization takes place in the oviduct, or what you call the fallopian tube. Immediately after fertilization, a living organism called zygote is formed in the fallopian tube. It takes around 3 to 6 days for the zygote to travel or to move from the fallopian tube to the upper part of the uterus. When it reaches the upper part of the uterus, it attaches itself there. That attachment is known as implantation, and it changes from being a zygote to embryo. Then after it attaches itself there, or after the implantation has taken place, the embryo develops a finger-like structure called placenta. Placenta is the organ of contact between now the mother and the embryo. So it prevents the blood of the mother. Placenta prevents blood of the mother from mixing with that of the embryo. So using that information, we can be able to answer the question. So which statement is not correct? That now becomes our key question. So when you look at our choices, we have choice A, fertilization takes place in the uterus. We have said now fertilization takes place in the oviduct. So the statement is not correct because of the word uterus. B, we have the zygote gets implanted in the walls of the uterus. Zygote, we have said now it takes 3 to 6 days for the zygote to attach itself in the upper uterine wall, and the process we have said now it is called implantation. So from the word implantation we have implanted, so it implants itself in the walls of uterus. That one is very much correct. The other one is that the blood of the mother and that of the fetus do not mix. So when you look at our explanation, we have said now once the embryo attaches itself in the upper uterine wall, it develops a finger-like structure called placenta that prevents the blood of the mother and that of the fetus from mixing. So that one is very correct. The other one is that menstruation stops during pregnancy. Immediately after fertilization has taken place, the menstrual cycle stops because of the chemical hormones that are produced in the body. They stop menstruation. So according to that, then we find now our answer is A, that is fertilization takes place in the uterus. It does not take place in the uterus, but it takes place in the oviduct. Which one of the following is not a correct statement about a fetus? When you look at the fetus, it is the embryo that has developed in the uterus. After the development of the embryo for about 8 weeks or 2 months, it changes to become a fetus. So during the process of development, the embryo has developed the placenta. The placenta is the organ of the contact between now the mother and the fetus. So what is the work of this placenta? One, it will allows food and oxygen to pass from the mother to the fetus. Two, it allows passage of carbon dioxide from the fetus to the mother for removal. 3, prevents the blood of the mother from mixing with that of fetus. And 4, it produces hormones that prevents or that maintains pregnancy in the womb. So using that information now, we can easily answer the question. Look at the statement that is not correct about the fetus. That A, we have the fetus receives oxygen through the placenta. That one is very much correct statement. Why? Allows food and oxygen to pass from the mother to the fetus, because the fetus is a living organism and cannot survive without breathing and feeding. B, the blood of the mother and that of the fetus mix. That statement is wrong. Why? As we have said now, the placenta prevents the blood of the mother from mixing with that of the fetus. So due to the word mix there, that statement is very much wrong. C, receives blood substances from food substances from the mother's blood. Food substances allows food from the mother to the fetus. D. Waste products are removed through the placenta. The waste products, that is the carbon dioxide from the fetus to the mother, they pass through the placenta, so that now they are removed. So according to our choices, the correct choice will be B, and that because the blood of the mother and that of the fetus does not mix, and that one is aided by the placenta. The following are processes that take place during birth in humans: dilation of the cervix, contraction of the uterus, bursting of the amniotic bag, pushing out of the baby, cutting of the umbilical cord. Which one of the following is the correct order of the process? So this one takes us to the birth process. So the birth process usually begin with contraction of the uterine wall. So after the contraction of the uterine wall, this leads to dilation of the cervix. When you talk about the dilation of the cervix, that is, the cervix starts opening. So due to the frequent contraction and relaxation of the uterine muscles, this one leads to bursting of amniotic bag. Amniotic bag, or you can call it the amnion. This amniotic bag or amnion usually contain the amniotic fluid. So after the bursting of the amniotic sac or bag, then the amniotic fluid comes out through the vagina. This fluid usually acts as a lubricant, so it prepares the path for the passage of the baby. Then after that, it now continues with contraction of the uterine walls, pushing the baby out. Then after the baby comes out, what follows is separating the baby from the mother, and this one is done by cutting the umbilical cord and tying it. Cutting and tying the umbilical cord. Usually the umbilical cord is usually tied so that now it prevents the blood loss from the mother and also from the fetus. So when you look at our choices there, we have they follow. We start with 2 followed by 1, then from there we have 3, from 3 we have 4 and then 5, 4 and then 5. So we look at our choices. We have 1, which is wrong. A is wrong. So we go to our next page and see. We have 2, 3, and 5. So we start with the 2, 1, 3, 4 and 5. Which one of the following attaches itself on the wall of the uterus to develop into a baby? So during the process of reproduction in human beings, it begins with fertilization. The fertilization is the union between the male gametes and the female gametes of reproductive cells. So once the fertilization has taken place, which is the union, then a living organism called zygote is formed. This zygote takes around 3 to 6 days to travel from oviduct to uterus. Once in the uterus, it attaches itself there. The process of attachment, it is called implantation. So after implantation, then it changes. After implantation, it changes to become embryo. So the one that attaches itself in the upper uterine wall, it will be the zygote. It's the one that attaches itself in the upper uterine wall, and after that it's the one that changes to become the embryo. Which one of the following is a function of the amniotic sac during pregnancy? Here it leads us to know the functions of the amniotic sac. Amniotic sac. The amniotic sac usually contains a fluid called amniotic fluid. The amniotic fluid, it has several functions, and one of the functions is to prevent the fetus from shock that might occur from any sort of injury. 2. Allows free movement of the fetus in the womb. Or the uterus. 3. It prevents the fetus from drying. The other one is that it regulates temperature, in the womb. So those are some of the functions of the amniotic fluid in the womb or in the uterus that is contained in the amniotic sac. So looking at our choices there, A, we have passes digested food to the fetus. It is not the work. According to our explanation here, we don't have anywhere we have said it allows the passage of digested food. What allows the passage of the digested food? It is the placenta. The placenta is the one that allows food material to pass through the placenta to the fetus. Allows gaseous exchange between the mother and the fetus. Also, the placenta is the one that allows, because the placenta is the organ of contact between the mother and the fetus. See, prevents harmful microorganisms from reaching the fetus. The same thing, the placenta is the one that prevents the passage of these harmful microorganisms that may cause diseases to the fetus from reaching it. Then we have D, protect the fetus from physical shock. So in case of any physical action that might lead to the injury of the fetus, the shocks are absorbed by the amniotic fluid. So in that case, if I now the amniotic sac contains the amniotic fluid that protects the fetus from physical shock that may lead to injury. A human zygote is formed in the when you talk about the zygote is the living organism that is formed immediately after fertilization. Zygote is formed immediately. After fertilization. So fertilization, which is the union of the ovum and the sperm, usually takes place in the oviduct. Also, you can call it the fallopian tube. That's where now it takes place. So when you look at the female reproductive system, which usually looks like that, we have the ovary there. Then we have this part here is the one we call the oviduct. That is where fertilization takes place, and immediately after fertilization the zygote forms that at that particular point. So looking at our answers, the human zygote is formed in, so this is where fertilization takes place, and that is the place where now the zygote is formed. So the zygote is formed in the oviduct or in the fallopian tube.